Now let's talk about this market research process in food market. So we are actually looking at how we carry out this research in marketing. So as I said, if you have to make decisions, that decisions must be made on exact information about the market, and this information can come through market research. And there are four steps that are involved for any market research. The first step is you have to define problem and your objective. So first of all, you need to know what is the problem and what is information that you need to get and what is your objective, why you want to do this research. Then the second step is you develop a research plan according to your objective. In the third stage, you would implement this research plan actually in the field. And the fourth step is to interpret and report those findings. So in third step, you would be getting those findings from the real market. And then in the fourth step, you would be interpreting those results and reporting those informations. So now we'll put a little more light on these steps one by one. So if we start with this step one, which is defining problem and objective. So in order to start any research, this is the very first step. And it's not only the very first step, it is also the most difficult part as well, to assign cause to some effect. For example, if you observe something in the market, for example, if your market share is going down, it could have multiple effects. Unlike scientific research, being in a social research, there are so many variables, uncontrollable variables, and our understanding about these variables and their effect on the market share, it might be not a very easy task. That's why I said that this is very first step, but this is also the very difficult step as well. So you have to be very smart at this step, that you actually define exactly what problem you are facing and why do you feel that that problem is created by one reason or the other, and what is the cause and effect for certain reasons. So there are different types of research again. Once you know that you have this problem and you want to do research, then there are three research approaches as well. You need to go for exploratory research. Exploratory research is basically you would shed some more light that you are going to, for example, in this case, if your market share is going down, you can go to the market and assess the market, that why this market share is going down, and you would explore uh, different options and different variables, that what is the effect of one variable on this effect that you are facing or the problem that you are facing. So this is more like an exploratory research. You don't know exactly what variable you are going to test, but you are going to test different variables to see what is the effect of some of the variables which are more profound, and on that basis that you can pick and choose certain variables which are strongly influencing or which are more having causative effect on your problem. So the next step is the descriptive research. Now you would be very much focused on certain variables, and you would be having those descriptive variables. Maybe you're having numbers, or maybe you are going to look at, for example, if your product is not liked by more young people. So maybe now you know that the young people in that population were going to affect the purchasing decision, and the market share of young people is going down. So maybe you know need to look at only these variable or this segment, that why this segment has stopped buying your products, or they are not buying your products. Might have different requirements, or they might have different perceptions about themselves, or they might be looking for different things and which are being given by other competitors. So in this descriptive research, maybe you are going to get those numbers of about that segment, more particular details. So it's more about detailed numbers that we talk about in descriptive research. And afterward, the next step can be cause and effect relationship as well, like what causes what effect, and you can basically measure that cause and effect relation in any of your problem that you decide to do your market research upon. Then the second step, once you know your objective, then you need to make a research plan according to that objective. So on that basis of objective, you might make up a proposal, a research proposal. And in the developing research plan, you would have the sources of existing data. You would look at what exact information that you need, what approach you need. You might have primary data, you might need secondary data. The secondary data might be available and it's generally available. It's done for some other purposes. And the primary data is the one that you get directly from people from different approaches. You might go for surveys, you might do observational studies. So there are all different methods and different approaches that can be used to make this sampling plan. It has to be carefully decided. The third step, once you have your objective, once you know your objective, once you have a research proposal, now you have your marketing, the marketing research plan. The third thing is now actually implementing and doing the real work in the field. So you would be collecting information, you would be processing and analyzing your information directly from the market, or maybe it can be secondary data that may be useful, available in some other domains, and you can collect that secondary data and look at that data and look at the cause and effect of this data with your specific problems. So as I said, if you want to process and analyze this information, we need to isolate the really important information and then the relation of this information with the decision. As I said, this social research, you have to deal with so many variables at the same time. It's very difficult to make variables constant in this kind of research, as we can do this in scientific research. And even if you make certain variables constant, so maybe missing out something very useful that would have more strong influence on your certain causes. So that needs to be a very sound judgment as well as very smart way of looking at these information, that how you are going to process this information and how you're going to isolate that information and then use this in implementing your research plan and what information you are getting actually. This fourth step is interpreting and reporting these findings. So now you have interpretation is also very vital. It must be correct. You must be quite smart to have a very right perspective of these things. So once you interpret that information based on the information that has been collected or gathered by different sources, then you need to make the right interpretation of that data. And generally, as you see, if you have information, there might be people make different interpretation of that same information. And this is how we make, if you have to make stronger and good research, that must be based on very nice interpretation of the information. And once you have interpreted that information, that must be reported to external customer as well as to the external experts as well. And once it's done, you must be ready to embrace those results, because that may be sound enough to generate some positive outcome. But if there are weaknesses in any of these steps or interpretation and analysis of this information, that might lead to the wronger territories as well, and that might lead toward the failures as well. So you have to actually respect that information could have very positive or negative effect on the organization overall. So now we talk about the different references that we have consulted for making all these slides right from the very start till the end. So these are your textbooks already recommended to you. So we acknowledge all these books and their authors from where this most of the information comes to make up these slides and presentations. And at the end, I would like to summarize this marketing research process, that this is very critical, very vital to understand, and to make sound research, it would have very strong influence on the success and failure of organizations. So now with this, we come to towards the end of this presentation and food biotechnology course. I hope it would be a very good learning experience for you.